All right, Grasshoppers. The man in the purple man is back from Canada.
Purple man.
Survived his trip. And Gresh is still here. We still haven't seen each other. He's been here for 8 weeks now, and we live 50 feet from each other. We haven't
9 weeks, Tom.
9 weeks. I guess I saw you the one time.
Right? I did a couple of drive-bys.
Yeah. What's that, Dave?
I just wondering if you're quarantining. Is there something going on over in your complex, or?
I think we're just giving each other our space.
Yeah. You don't think I saw you enough back in 1980?
Yeah, we had
for another 2 months.
Yeah. Room together, shower together.
Yeah. Well, let's not tell everybody everything, okay?
All right, Dave.
Keep some things a secret.
Well, Dave, you were saying before the show there, you're coming back into the States here. There was hardly anybody going across the bridge.
Yeah, you know what? Coming both ways, you have to have a legitimate reason. I know what qualifies as a legitimate reason. I mean, I get into Canada on my Canadian passport and got back into America on my American papers. And going up, there were probably 3 cars in front of me. Now, I went up on a Wednesday. There were 3 cars in front of me, and there were a bunch of semis coming both ways, right? Coming back on Sunday morning back into America, there wasn't a car or a truck to be seen. I mean, I've been across the border there. I'm sure you have. If you go up to Canada, Tom, you go that way too, right, through Buffalo?
Yep.
I mean, you can wait for a long time with those bridges, but hopefully it gets back to normal sooner than later.
That's Eastern Canada, Gresh, in case you wondered where that was.
I was just trying to figure out who the hell would want to go to Ontario.
Those people maybe.
Well, that's we'll leave it at that. But it's either there or Good Soil, Saskatchewan. I mean,
no, they're Toronto. I remember going to Toronto for my very first game, and my Aunt Anne ran the Royal York Hotel.
She did.
Wow. That's a big time hotel in Toronto for a long time.
We stayed in there, and I remember she was working at the Royal York Hotel.
Yeah,
I think that was called. Nice old hotel. It wasn't like a Queen's Hotel or something like that at one time, or
what happened was the Canadian Pacific Railroad built these old elegant hotels along the railroad line. You know, there's one in Quebec City, there's one in Montreal, one in Toronto. It's actually Vancouver. So it's one of those old classic hotels.
Wow. I didn't know that, Dave. Good job. I didn't know that.
There you go.
Tom, the difference between reading a book, like Dave read more books the first month I knew him than I've read my whole life.
I remember a second year pro, Herbie's first year. I'd come into camp way out of shape, and he was all over me. That was the year we went to Finland for training camp.
Yeah.
So instead of going out and drinking beers with the boys and getting to bed late, I was getting to bed early. So I think you're my roommate. I'd go down to the lobby and I'd read books because they want to wake them up. So all the reporters and everything thought I was this great reader. I was trying to lose weight.
And they were finished books, right? Like they must have thought you were unbelievably smart.
Yeah, he had a nice book, and then you know what was inside that book? Another book.
No. I was actually reading, Ron.
You were?
Yeah, I was reading about truck driving school.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. How about that camp, though? You remember that camp?
Yeah.
Remember that tournament we played in Stockholm, Sweden?
Yeah. Remember Bobby Hull was with us too, right?
Honest to God, guy sent me a picture like this week. I don't know where it was from. And he asked me to sign it. And in the picture, it was a picture from that tournament because Bobby Hull was right beside me in the back checking position. He had the old tube skates still.
Yeah.
We went for a lunch one day at training camp here before we went for training camp, and he went with us to some restaurant in Rye, and he sat there and told stories for like 3 hours. A whole bunch of us were there, and he was good.
He had stories too, right? I remember we were sat around in Stockholm one night. He was telling stories. You're like, whoa.
Yeah, I remember there was a establishment for having alcohol we went to. It's called the Opera or something. No, what was it called? It was called
Opera House.
Is that what it was called?
I think so. Yeah.
A big bar like for Sweden. The bar was as big as the country, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
The Opera House, something like that. That's what it was.
And we had Alf Nielsen and Anders
How come I
Hedberg.
can remember that and I can't remember you reading any books?
I was letting you sleep, Ron. I was not, I was going downstairs.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
He does that now too, Dave. He doesn't slam the door anymore.
Yeah. But that camp, I remember that was Herbie's first camp, right?
Yeah.
And, oh man, and that big ice surface and stuff like that. You had to do those all those skating.
Remember Ray Ruslanen was there. Remember he used to lap us in those three. Remember we used to do the 45 seconds 3 times around.
Yeah, you had to hit the whatever red line every 15 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh man. You didn't want to get in the group with Ruslanen or McClanahan.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Robbie.
Or Pavlich.
Or Pav. Pav could get around too, but Pav kind of had Pav would go as hard as he thought he had to go.
Yeah, a couple of
Robbie and Rail Rexy they were in high gear. Their low gear was everybody else's high gear.
Oh.
I wonder how Rail would do in this game today.
He'd be great.
He'd be great.
Fly, yeah.
Yeah, he could skate. I think he's pretty involved in the Finnish. The Finnish program has done a good job in the last 5 years. You look at there's a lot of
he's got a skating school or something too. I know he's got it on Facebook.
He came to Ranger camp. I'm going to say 5 or 6 years ago. I think he was looking maybe to kind of look and see if he could get a job in Europe with the Rangers at one point. Talked to him. So yeah, he was.
Remember Rexy? He for the first 2 months. I don't think he talked. No. Then we went to the pub for a beer, and after 3 or 4 beers, he couldn't get him to shut up, and he was talking.
Talk about a race that could drink, right, Gresh? Remember we were over there at Easter time with Team Canada in that tournament? Oh my God! We were in the bars in Finland, and that was in April, so it was still winter there, and oh my God, people were falling over.
It was
talking to some young lady, and if you talking to her, she go down.
Was it Ramo Helminen too that we had? He came.
Ramo,
Remember the game in Winnipeg where he got a penalty or something like that and started almost undressing at center ice? Like the scene from Slapshot. He's like, he was a great guy. He lost his temper. He was.
There was Mikko Leninen.
Mikko Leninen, yeah.
Cool breeze on a hot summer day.
Yeah, right.
Mikko.
Yeah, they're good. But I'll tell you, that Finnish program, there are a lot of good Finns in the league now, and coming up, they've done a good job kind of figuring out their program. They've competed on world level. They're World Juniors. They won 2 years ago. So
real competitive guys too. Maybe.
Yeah, they are. I think they're most most like the Canadians. I think.
Yeah, totally.
Mentality. So.
I think years ago they got kind of pushed around, and they just built themselves
a
whole new identity. They got some big kids too. I mean, like that. I heard the Islanders are looking at that. What's his name? Patrick Laine.
Yeah. He's a big. Whoever has it when he gets on the road, he goes into the Best Buy and buys like a 60-inch TV screen so he can game, and then he just leaves in the room.
That's funny.
That's a little difference too. Like in time, right?
Yeah, our salary used to be the TV.
Yeah. They're like a lot of the guys. It's not unusual, that generation. They're big gamers and stuff. But I guess that's what he said. He loves Winnipeg. Well, if you never leave your room,
how do you know?
Right. How would you know? And then you're probably not watching TV. He's using TV to play games. So you think he's in
my son Ashton is going to Winnipeg to school in January.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's Gretchen East, isn't it? Doesn't your family own half that town too?
No kidding.
Right?
I don't know. I can't remember. I don't remember many things, Dave. I'm over 60.
Yeah.
You're halfway there. Chloe?
No. That's a reminder. He's got to go to the bathroom.
You know what he does? He sets that thing too to make it look like he's busy.
No, you know what I do a lot of times. I don't care who's listening, but some people I don't like talking to on the phone. They call me up and they're going like, and they're like this, right? This politics. This I go like, I set my phone to a ring and it rings. I go, hey, look, my mom's calling.
How many times have you told me that your mom's calling? Now I figure it out. You do that to
Oh,
me.
not that many, Tom, yet, but you're getting on the list quick after today.
All right, our fans listening here want us to touch on the Henrik Lundqvist situation. Yeah. Obviously, everybody knows he got bought out yesterday.
Well, what do you guys think?
Well, I think that's been coming for a long time, right? So it's just finally got to the point. They've got that window where they can buy out players, so they've done it. I think we all agree he's had a fantastic career, both on and off the ice. I think he's been like that. I did a podcast the other day with Kevin Allen, and I call him like the perfect professional. It's like everything he did was like a Derek Jeter kind of personality. Unfortunately, he didn't win a cup. But that's the game. I mean, I remember being in LA when Gretzky got traded, right? And everybody's thinking, no way, it's not going to happen. And ever since that, I said to myself, something, people think it's not going to happen. Gretzky got traded. So
twice. Well, I got sold once, I guess.
Yeah. My guess is I saw some people reporting that he may go someplace as a backup. I don't see that at all. I think if he's going to go anyplace else, he's going to believe that he's the number one goaltender there. I'm looking at like a place like Colorado, maybe that, they think they can close to winning the cup. They're the odds-on favorite to win the cup next year right now. So we'll see.
Yeah. What do you think, Gresh?
I mean, you meet him so many times, and he was all class all the time.
Right.
He was nice to my kids when they were younger, 10 years ago, whatever. And he was nice to them when they're older. And the problem with sports is you get old. And there's every year. I mean, you guys all know you played. There was every year you played. The previous years, there's more guys coming in to take your job.
Right.
And it just happens. This young kid that came in stood on his head. I don't mean that he wasn't good. I'm just saying that. And where are you going to go? You're rebuilding a team, and you need all those young guys to do that. And he did things for the Ranger organization, for himself, that were. I mean, you can't even say how many good things there were about Lundqvist. You feel bad for the guy. I mean, he got paid, but you still feel bad for him because he had that big heart. And he loved New York. He wanted to win there, and I think that's one of his disappointments. But like Tommy just said, if Gretzky can get moved.
Well, same as Bobby Orr, right? Like that's what I always thought. Like, Gresh might be one of the few guys that stayed as long with one franchise as anybody. I mean, the Montreal Canadiens. Well, there wasn't any movement in those days where all the great Canadians finished as Canadians.
Yeah,
they won. But this, I think the reality is most don't finish with the team they started with, and that's I always thought if Bobby Orr couldn't finish as a Bruin, I had no right to think that I could finish my career anyway.
Yeah.
But he was, he was every bit. A lot of times, people who observed Henrik, he was always, he dressed well, he handled himself well. He just, like in the old Beatle pictures where the Beatles, all those old sharp suits and their hair was the right style and stuff. I always thought he might have been the fifth Beatle, right? But the thing with him is you get asked, well, really, what kind of guy is he? I think you might look at him and think, well, he might be a bit of an uppity sort of dude. But I'll tell you, talk to him. He's humble. He's smart. And I just think a guy that is in the city, the greatest city in the world, and could, capture the city the way he did in a sport where, we don't, a lot of times we play third or fourth fiddle in this town. And if he does go somewhere to play, I hope he wins the cup.
Yeah.
And I don't think, and I think we've talked about it before, in any way, shape, or form should his Ranger career be validated whether he won the cup or not. Because I've always been of the belief that from 2011-12 to 2015-16, where we had two conference finals and Stanley Cup finals, we don't get there without him.
Yeah. Totally.
And you know what? The problem was he couldn't score a goal. And we had Game 7 against Tampa, and Tampa scores early in the third. The Rangers couldn't do anything. Now Hank had scored a goal. We would have won 1. Who knows? But it certainly wasn't reality. So he did everything within his power to give this franchise Yes.
Yeah.
He was a competitor too, right? I mean, I might always like it as a defenseman, but sometimes when something wasn't going right, you could see him behind the mask there just screaming at the defenseman and everybody, really. And at first you kind of like, oh God, he shouldn't do that. But you know what? If you're a guy that is as prepared as he is and it puts so much into it, I compared it to Wayne Gretzky staying on the ice for 3 or 4 minute shifts, and normally you say, well, that's not right. You shouldn't do that. But it was Wayne, and he was doing it to win. And I think Henrik is the same thing with him. When he got hot under the collar in the crease there and gave it to me, he said, all right, he's backing it up. I mean, it wasn't. I don't think there was ever a time where he didn't come prepared to play. It wasn't always a perfect game for him, but he was always prepared to play. So he can get away with it.
Well, he threw his little chunks out there too. That time when I think they were playing Pittsburgh, and there was a little skirmish in front of the net. A little get together. He had the water bottle.
Yeah,
he gave Crosby a little shower.
Yeah, okay.
Everybody's going like, "Oh, that's not." I go, that would like he would have fit right in 1975 or 1980.
Yeah, no, he. The thing that happens, the big thing with him, he is so competitive.
Yeah,
and believes and what was happening. And I think I go back to the 2017 series when they lost to Ottawa, when Derek Stepan came down and told him to calm down.
Yeah,
and as time went on, and he wasn't quite as good as he was, and he knew that, and it was hard for him to kind of figure out where it all kind of was going to play out for him. So. You know what? That's got to be tough on the franchise's standpoint, right? I think we've seen a lot of times where that main guy, what do you do when it gets towards the end?
Yeah.
And I do believe that the Rangers, from Mr. Dolan right on down, were thoughtful about him, respected what he'd done, and I don't think whatever was bound to happen would have been a surprise to him. I think he was partial to most of the conversations.
Yeah.
It was pretty gracious. I saw his tweet yesterday. Pretty gracious words on his part, which is no surprise.
Yeah.
Like you read the stuff in the paper about where he's going to go: Carolina, Colorado, Washington. Could you imagine that?
Yeah, they were saying the backup to that other kid that got there in Washington. He's not
Washington, right?
Yeah,
I agree, Tom. I doubt very, and it's not. You never got the sense, of course, he had enough. He was making a lot of money. You never got the sense that he was going to milk it for the last dollar.
Yeah.
And who knows? We're certainly talking about something that none of us really know. But Colorado probably, if he wants to give it a try, I mean, that would probably fit. They're probably the closest team that there's a bit of a question with their goaltending.
Yeah.
The others, Hope he's now a free agent. So
yeah,
there's a lot of goalies out there too, right? I mean, Pittsburgh, trade Murray. What's going to happen with Markstrom, Leonard, and Fleury in Vegas?
Crawford.
Yeah, so there's a lot of goalies out there. That's going to be the issue.
Yeah, Hudobin. There's a lot, but almost. I was going through the list. Lerner's 28. He's the only one under 30.
Yeah,
a lot of. So it'll be interesting, but hey, there's no doubt. That 30 will go up in the rafters about 5 seconds after he announces that his playing career is over. And
I mean, what's he got? The 6 most wins?
Yeah, until history.
Yeah. No, it's 3rd, isn't it? And behind Brodeur and Esposito.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's 5 times. I think he's got the 3rd most wins in the history of the league behind Tony Esposito and Brodeur.
Wow. No, there's Patrick Roy's in there.
Yeah.
Laurent, what's his name?
Luongo.
Yeah, he's in there.
Yeah.
We looked at it the other day. I looked at it.
Yeah. Well, he had a lot of wins. And I mean, I remember particularly, especially in the Tortorella years, where it was just hunker down, defend, block shots, get it out, and hope your goalie makes a save. I remember one night we were in Vancouver. They were in Vancouver. I'm telling you, the chances must have been 100-5, and the Rangers won 4-1 or something like that. Mike Rupp scored. Guys, just somebody found a goal somewhere. Henrik stood on his head. You put the 2 points in the bank, and you go on to the next one.
Remember that competitiveness got him in trouble there a little bit early when he was young, right? Remember, it didn't happen all the time when Tom Rennie was coaching. There's a couple times Henrik pulled himself out of the net.
Yeah.
But that's young. That's he's
frustrated. That wasn't uncommon though in his culture. Like that wasn't uncommon in the Swedish league. So I think to a certain degree. Yeah, I remember thinking, what in the world is that? You don't do that.
Yeah.
But then you kind of, okay, well, maybe give him a bit of a break. You can do it maybe once, you know.
And then it didn't happen anymore once Torch showed up.
Yeah, no. So he'll. Well, the thing is, if he comes back somewhere, I hope it is, and I hope he does. I hope it is a Ray Bourque story where he goes somewhere and wins the cup. That'd be great. Really
yes.
Yeah.
Before I forget, too, Mark Stahl get traded as well.
Yeah,
An interesting deal, right? I mean, obviously they're getting rid of the salary.
yeah,
And both parties did a great job, right? They get him someplace else. I think he'll help Detroit a lot, right? They have a young team. He's an experienced guy, steady player. And Yzerman gets back a second round pick too. So pretty good deal for both sides, right? Now the Rangers got more cap space.
Yeah, Mark Stahl knows his game.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, he'll be to Detroit what he could still have been to the Rangers.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. He's going to. That's again a franchise that's. They're going to turn it at some point. They've had back-to-back pretty good GMs. They needed to change there. Yzerman's there, and they got a little bit jobbed on the draft this year with the lottery. But he's another. See, I think thing too. Those years we're talking about of recent success, there was a real culture in the room. It was a real professionalism, and Mark Stahl and Henrik Lundqvist were two key ingredients to that. And that doesn't build overnight. That's the thing. When you look at the Ranger roster now, there haven't been a lot of guys who've been in that room for a long time together.
Yeah.
It takes time. And, now who are the guys? You kind of look at the guys, a guy like, Kreider.
Kreider, yep.
And
is Kreider a guy that stands up in the locker room and talks?
The guy that has a presence, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think, again, around, but we're not really there. You're not really there, right? But being around, and he's matured too. He's kind of figured out that he might have a little more to offer, as far as that role. And he's at the age and point of his career that, he's going to be looked upon to do that. And
it's amazing you're talking about keeping guys in the locker room for a long time. I was watching on TV last night the Tampa Bay kind of, celebration,
Mm-hmm.
And I never realized that Stamkos had been there 12 years.
Yeah.
And Hedman 11 years.
Right.
I'm thinking they're there like 7 years, whatever. Right. And they built that with the new owner. They built that kind of culture around everything. And a lot of guys have been there a lot of years. It's not like that's how you build a team, though. Like you get the main ingredients, and then you bring the other, the salt and pepper in a little later on and pour it on. And they did this year. I mean, that Pat Maroon, the big rig there, he's like he can't skate fast, but he gets to A to B.
I think he can drink beer pretty fast from the looks of that.
Yeah,
he needed a couple of toothpicks to keep his eyes open last night, but it was okay.
Yeah, we had the shirt off up on stage there and everything.
Yeah, with the shirt off. You don't see guys with that build. I mean, he's a big rig for sure, but he's another guy you want him to check about an hour after his career's over and see where the weight when he steps.
Yeah, he was in that 2040 category.
I remember the first time I saw Dustin Byfuglien in Chicago. You're like, holy cow. I'm telling you, that guy was a big man, and big and naturally strong. But boy, when that career ended, you go,
where's that body fat at? Body fat was up.
No, the thing too is you look at Tampa had a number 1 overall in Stamkos, number 2 overall in Hedman, and they find like Kucherov's a second rounder, Braden Point's a third rounder, and you build, you trade, you get grittier. And that's the thing. Now people talking about the Rangers where they're at, and it's like it takes time, folks. It was 12 years before Ovechkin won. 12.
And then it goes to the goaltending too, right? Vasilevsky's unbelievable. Like Hedman won Conn Smythe, but Vasilevsky easily could have won it. Point could have won it. Kucherov could have won it.
Yeah, you need that. You need that.
So good that he just you just took it for granted that he was going to be there every night.
Yeah, but you need those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players.
Oh, absolutely.
One of those 5 has to be your goaltender.
Right.
And whatever it is. I think, and this is no down put from the Rangers a couple of years ago, but their number one player was the goalie.
Right.
And like you said, Dave, they don't score that often. You lose 1-0. If Lundqvist could have got one, we could have tied the game, maybe won in overtime. But
well, the thing I think when you look at it in those years, he was really the world-class player. Like if you look at, you could make the case that now Braden Point's still young. All right, but it looks like he's good. But for sure, Stamkos a world-class player. For sure, Hedman's a world-class player. Vasilevsky and Kucherov. There you got four.
Yeah.
Right. And then you count now in the years the Rangers were winning, they had a really good sum of parts. Like Ryan McDonough, there's the elite defenders, and then McDonough just sneaks in just kind of underneath. I think he's still a tremendous player.
Yeah.
He's not Hedman. He's not Doughty. He's not Chris Letang.
See, and that's why it's good for him to go to a place where Hedman is, right? So now he doesn't think he has to be doing everything. I thought that's when he got himself in trouble where at the Rangers here, where he tried to do too much, right?
And I don't know about you guys. He was sure a great defender, but now that guy off the blue line has to be somebody that can bring something offensively.
Yep.
And and it really is no. Maybe it is a criticism of McDonough, but he was a hell of a player. But then when you go to the one team that wins and you kind of match up against those teams, and you go, our one guy that could match up to every cup winner that we were the finalists that during those years the Rangers played was Lundqvist.
Yeah.
So Rick Nash was Rick Nash. Great player.
Yeah.
But he wasn't going to be Ovechkin. So it's just it's not that easy to win.
So all being gone then in his contract, does that mean they're going to keep DeAngelo? They can get him in?
Well, they've got 20. I think it's 23 million now to spend.
Yeah.
But 12 million next year goes to the guys they bought out. Now, I don't know. You may know, Tom. I don't know verbatim. I tried to call a couple people. That 12 million, does that go right away against what they have? No.
Anybody that's over 26 years old when they're bought out, they get 2/3 of what they're
buyout, right?
That's spread out over 2 seasons.
Yeah. So I got that. So but because next year the cap hit for Lundqvist is $5 million, $5.5 million. And Shattenkirk's cap hit is $6 million. They're still paying Brad Richards and they're still paying Dan Girardi. So that total is over 12 million. Right. I just don't know where that 12 million fits in relative to the money it looks like they have to spend.
Yeah, there's a certain percentage, and I can't remember what's, because I saw in the paper, I think Larry Brooks had it, where the cap hit for Henrik for next year will be like $3.5 million, and I think $1.5 million the following year. So there's something I don't know.
According to Cap Friendly, the cap hit for Lundqvist is 5.5, and 6.5 for $6 million for Shattenkirk. He gets paid over 2 years at 66% of his salary, right?
Yep.
Value, but there's one big spike. The same thing. Shattenkirk's cap hit this year was like $1.4 million.
Right.
Next year it's $6 million, and it goes $1.4 million, $1.4 million.
Yeah.
But again, I think back to DeAngelo. Certainly, if he goes to arbitration, he's going to have tremendous numbers, right? The thing is this kid Lundqvist that's in Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
He's a right-handed shot, young kid, and they're very high on him. He's making kind of out there, whether it's he or his agent, that he might play out his term and become an unrestricted free agent because he looks at the Rangers' right side. You spend a lot of money in Trouba. You're going to spend a lot of money when Fox comes up. Right. And if it's not re-sign DeAngelo, there's all kinds of money tied up on that right side.
Right.
So the Rangers, I think, have to make a decision. We know what DeAngelo is. We know what he might going to cost. Is that going to cost us this Lundqvist? I think if there's a deal there for DeAngelo to be moved, he'll be moved.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And a lot of those that cap space, a lot of it's eaten up too by these young kids and their bonuses. Like on the rookie contracts, that's where the kids can get these bonuses. You can't get the bonuses on any other contracts until you're 35 years old.
Right.
So, all these young kids they've got, like all these performance bonuses, I mean, that's all part of the cap as well. So, we say there's 23 million, whatever the number is on the cap, but like you brought up, Dave, it's retired, the guys they're buying out, plus.
I just don't know how that plays out because it certainly looks like plenty of money to play with. Now, Ryan Strome is another restricted free agent. Jesper Fast is unrestricted. Again, there are some bodies there. So that's the dilemma, because I think, what do you think of DeAngelo as a player, Gresh?
I think you can't have too many of the same. Like him, Fox, a lot of guys you need. I look at a team like Tampa who won.
Mm-hmm.
They brought these guys in the back end. They had Hedman, they had
McDonough,
then they had
Sergachev,
Shattenkirk. What's that? And
Russian.
Yeah, I mean they had those guys, but they brought those other pieces in there where I don't want to call them slugs or whatever you want to call them, but they're not. They're kind of on the end of their career, and they those guys contributed. Maybe not the goals Hedman did or all the defensive plays, but they stood up to they had a couple of fights. They ran a couple of guys, and you need that part in your team too. You can't have all stick handling.
But I think it's when you get those guys too, right? I mean, they felt like they were a cup contender this year, and that's why you go get those pieces.
Right.
I don't know. To me, if you've got a developing team, you don't think is there yet.
No,
you don't go get those pieces. I don't think.
No,
right?
You're right. But I'm just saying you can't sign too many of them for long term,
right?
Because you got to go down
deadline, right?
5 years down the line, you can't even go get those guys because you can't keep buying guys out.
Right.
I
agree that, and I think you both are onto a point, because depending where you are in your development, to me, a guy like Luke Chen might be worth kind of taking a look at, from a Ranger standpoint, because if you look at their back end, they got a lot of bodies there, but not a lot of experience. Now, again, my suspicions are there may be something, be a deal of some sort that may fill the stall void by getting a little bit younger.
Yep.
I don't think it's so much money, and maybe you can find somebody a little bit younger that's already got a contract. That's somebody needs that part, and if it's DeAngelo, you've got to know that there are plenty of teams will take. The thing with Tony was his maturation on and off the ice.
Yep.
And from the observation I tell, he's matured an awful lot in both areas.
Yeah.
He still gets himself in a little bit of trouble yapping on the ice.
Like that in some ways, right? I mean,
and there are always going to be characters like that. There's no question.
I think he carries a little chip on his shoulder when he plays too.
Oh,
he's got a little bit of a mean streak in him. He gets. Yeah. He doesn't he's not like he's going to be backing down from anything. He don't. So that part of him, I really like, again, from the left side, you're counting on Lindgren. If Lindgren can continue to be the player he's been, that's a pretty good player. Yeah.
He's a good player. Hayek is another kid that's the left-handed shot that looks like he can play, or maybe he becomes something that you kind of move for something else. I don't know. I think they do have some assets. I think they have to, if they can, the first position I address is if they, with the different assets they have in cap space and whatever, if they can get a horse in the middle behind Zibanejad, then it goes Zibanejad 2, Hedl 3, Howden 4, and then they're all the age that you give them a couple of years. Then you down the middle, and then that's starting to look good.
Like the guy they had before, who I don't think is number 2, but Stepan, it's in Arizona now. He's making $6 million. That's going to be the only problem. To go get that number 2 centerman right now, that's the range you're going to have to pay him, right? And can they afford to do that right now? That's an issue they have too. But
it depends on the guy's age. I think of the kid, and I don't even, you'd have to take a look where it fit money wise.
Yeah,
so money's not. I think the reality is if you can find somebody to fit, and the money's never going to be an issue for big cap teams like the Rangers or the Leafs or something like that. Knock on wood. So they're not worried about 8 years down the road.
Yeah.
They can fit them in near term. Worry about that later. If they can get somebody younger in that position. And that's taking nothing away from Strome. If it's Strome that,
but to get a younger guy as a number 2 centerman, I mean, yeah, that's not growing on trees, right? So, like, and again, I think where you at in your development as an organization too, right?
Yeah. So, I think the next week to 10 days between the draft and free agency, it sounds like there's a lot of conversations going on. When I can tell, so it should be pretty. I think the Rangers are going to be involved because they're.
How about the Jack Eichel rumor out of Buffalo? Right, it was Bob McKenzie that came up with that rumor. He's usually a pretty reliable guy, and I don't think he said that it was going to be a done deal, but there was talk that Eichel had asked for a trade. If that's the case, every team in the league is going to be calling Buffalo to see what's going to take to get him.
Well, the thing from a Rangers standpoint, the reality with Eichel is I think Buffalo has paid him a $7.5 million bonus, and I believe he's been paid 75% of next year's salary. So if you're Buffalo, unless you're getting some cash relief from that, why wouldn't you? If you got him, you spent your money for the next year, you might as well keep him for another year. I mean, hey, listen, if the Rangers could swing a deal like that, to have that guy come in here, played for David Quinn at BU for a year.
Yep.
But I think you're right too. But from Buffalo's standpoint, I don't know, unless there was some cash coming back. I mean, I don't even know if they can do that anymore.
You can hold back some money. Yeah, they couldn't do it for a while. The old CBA, they couldn't. There's no one there, some cash component to it. Yeah. I mean, it's going to take a lot to get. I mean, you're talking, the rumor was Kreider or whatever, because Buffalo really needs to redo that team. There's something missing there in that team, right? And maybe that's why they want to do it too. Maybe, but you're right, Dave, with the money part of it. But they say Buffalo to me, Nashville, those teams, like, really, there's something missing there. Like, it's a character issue or whatever it is. Like Nashville team, I don't know if they can move some of the guys they've got there, but like Matt Duchene and everything they've got, it just seems like that locker room, there's something missing. So I think that's those kinds of teams. I think we'll see a lot of trades at or around the draft.
I think in Nashville, it's just the mix. I think they might have hit the panic button a little early. Try and go out. You sign Johansson for 8 years at $8.5 million, and then you make a deal for another high-profile player that comes in with a bit of a reputation. You got to pay him all kinds of money.
Yep, I agree.
So, and even it goes back to the Shea Weber PK Subban trade.
I know.
I
love Shea Weber too. I just think that the leadership, the way he plays the game. I mean, look at the defenseman Nashville traded away. I mean, they ultimately traded away PK Subban, Shea Weber, the big kid out of Columbus.
Seth Jones.
Seth Jones.
Weather and Shea Jones.
Him. Oh, man. Right. Yeah. Kevin Klein was an afterthought. They moved him. He was a good player too. I mean, they're. I don't know, and I think it's just the mix there. They just should have kind of just stayed that course, which is certainly a lot easier for us to say than people who are there. So it'll be an interesting time to see how this. I was happy for Kevin Shattenkirk. That was the other guy I wanted to see him go because I heard Brisebois say yesterday that two of the most important pieces might have been the addition of Shattenkirk and Maroon.
Yeah,
guy just came in and kind of helped put the glue in that locker room that had been needed.
Yeah, I was happy for him too, Dave. I was happy for him because I think he broke a stick on one play and they scored on I think it was the Islanders.
Yeah, in the neutral zone. Yeah, shot the blue line, right? Overtime.
Blue line, and they went down. They scored a goal. Then
right.
The next game, I think it was the next game, he scores in overtime.
Right. No, listen, Kevin was never going to be the greatest, the best defender in the world, but he's a tremendous. He's got certainly offensive skills and in the right situation, which
he is there.
In which he was there for sure. You could play him in with, and you had a guy like Coburn sitting out. There were a lot of Coburn's a former first rounder, Schen's a former first rounder, Bogosian's a former first rounder. Bogosian was top 3.
Yeah.
I've never been, the player I think people thought, but still. I remember Scotty Bowman saying that you could never be deep enough on the blue line at come playoff. And
Yeah, that's kind of like, you see all those guys and they all I know the GM brings them in all that, but I think the coach put him in the right spot too.
Sure.
And play them, the right amount of time. Like like when you have a Hedman though, like, he just stands in the middle, everybody else stands around him and gives him one of these, like we're not worthy,
Just like you.
What?
Just like you.
Yeah. Gresh is that Ranger phenom, that Ranger icon.
Yeah, but that's not we're this guy is 6'6".
Yeah.
How big you are in my eyes, Gresh. That's how big you are. My eyes.
Tom, that's only when you're doing your weights on that little round thing when you're almost falling over.
I have almost fallen a couple times. I edit the video, right? But I'm already standing on the ball. You don't see me try to get on that thing sometimes. That's
getting off is easy though, right?
Yeah.
Just fall backwards.
I went off that little thing.
What, Dave? Let me ask. I forgot something to mention here. You're color coordinated today. The hat is matching the shirt and everything.
Well, the hat's not real. The hat comes off with that. The hat's like a gray hat. So there's
it's a Ranger hat.
It does come back. It does come in like mauvey, purpley sort of thing. What is that cartoon character's all purple?
Oh yeah.
Not where some
Barney.
Yeah, Barney. Maybe it's like a Barney.
You just got a new nickname. No more.
Yeah, I was thinking that earlier when
I gotta write that down too.
Oh yeah. Barney. Dave Barney Maloney.
Oh, God. So we should all get color coordinated now, like the hat and the shirt and everything.
Yeah, well, like I say, the hat really it comes off looking.
That gray hat and that purple look exactly the same color.
It does to me. It does to me, Ron.
Yeah. The other thing, when I have one last thought on Hedman, I saw in the paper somewhere this morning. I read that he played with every other defenseman over the course of the playoffs. He had a certain amount, like he played. At the end of the day, he played like 8 minutes or something with McDonough.
Right.
But like with Bogosian, he played 30, like total times, according. And so, anybody, you can just throw him out there with a big guy out there. And
it was funny watching it. He'd go all over the place, and the other defenseman knew just to go where Hedman was.
And I think the guy that played the most minutes with him was Shattenkirk.
Or Bogosian, right?
Bogosian was up there. And
you mean with Hedman?
Yeah, with Hedman. These guys played with every one of those defensemen.
Yeah. The one, I think it was the finals. I can't remember what goal it was Hedman scored, but the puck's going around the end there, and he dumps it in and goes back to the point, takes a shot, and like you see Hedman coming from the right to the left, facing the net, and he tucks it in.
Yeah.
You go like, where the hell was he?
Yeah, right.
Like, how do you defend that? It's like you look at all the teams that have won over the last course of a lot of years. Pittsburgh had Letang for a couple of those. They had Doughty in LA.
Yeah.
Just you need that guy that can play left, right, power play, penalty kill. You need that.
Right.
And that's why I was after the first game I wasn't that impressed with Tampa Bay against Dallas. I was more impressed by Dallas, but then all of a sudden.
I think at the end of the day, you make the point. Tampa's top players were better than Dallas is up there, and the goaltending was better.
Yeah.
Hudobin was a great story, but at the end of the day, Vasilevsky was better.
How tall is he?
Those top guys for Dallas are all old too, right? Like Ben and Radulov there,
Corey Perry,
Pavelski.
Yeah, they're all.
Yeah, I mean, Sagan was not the factor he needed to be, but they've still got, they've got Heiskanen, they've got some young guys there. They just needed more. The guy I thought they needed more out of was Sagan. Ben was Ben. He competed every game. He probably didn't get the points. You're going to get, but Sagan, I think if he had been a little bit better, that Dallas, especially when they were looking for a goal,
Did Ben score a goal in the finals? I don't think so. Did he?
I don't think so. I don't think he did.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So yeah.
But Kucherov, I mean, here you got this guy. He was on TV last night. He was in every picture, right? And he was having a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think back to 2019 in April, a lot of things were said about him.
Yeah.
Not showing up in the corner, not going this way, not
Right.
going. And
Yeah.
he proved that wrong. And I didn't know. I thought he was a first round. I didn't know he was a second round pick. But
Yeah.
I mean, he came to play.
Well, to me, like the whole team, right? I mean, they didn't know how to win before. I think they learned a lot last year when they lost to Columbus. I think they learned a lot this year when they beat Columbus. They learned. I think when they beat Boston, same thing. They learned, that it isn't all about making big plays, right? It's making all those smart little plays.
And again, the acquisitions. I know it cost them a first, but Blake Coleman was really good.
Yep.
Gaudreau was really good too. I mean, they just. Well, that's it. Most times you always make that case about the winner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the guys that are supposed to be stories are usually stories. Yeah. Then there's some stories that happen that you say, oh man, I didn't think Pat Maroon was going to be, that big a factor. Or I always liked Coleman. I loved him in Jersey. The guy was tough, hit hard. He could play.
Skate like shoot the puck.
He's got one more year left at, I think, $1.5 million or something.
Was that right?
I just saw that goal that he scored in the last game there.
Yeah.
When Maroon knocked it out of the air.
Right.
Like how does that happen? Maroon couldn't do that in front of the net. 500 pucks. No, but he does. No, I'm not cutting Maroon up. I'm just saying that like he knows his job. He knows where he's supposed to be. But he knocked that thing down like he was Gretzky picking it up and going up the ice and making a great play.
Yeah. But, yeah, that's when the winners. There's like one winner and 30 other teams got to come up with answers, right?
Yeah. I used to always wonder about that. When teams won, they go like to thank God, Well, what about the other 31 teams that aren't winning? How do they feel?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Thanking God.
The only what upset me there was they didn't pump in the booing noise when Bettman came out on the ice. That would have been.
That would have been too good.
Oh. Or even if he had made reference to it, would have been better. Like, I don't feel that comfortable here. There's no booing or something.
It's so nice right now. He should have been so calm.
Yeah. But you got to give him credit, though. You give him credit and give the league credit. They pulled it off. The players seemed to ball because apparently, I guess this NFL thing with Minnesota, I heard yesterday, I was told that there was one guy that went out one night and went out, younger guy, and went out and got himself compromised. And
Dick Smart, or is that like
what's that?
Who's that? Is that like from
that's the Pink Panther.
Yeah, the Pink Panther. Dave's got the Pink Panther and Barney going on today.
Yeah. That's what happens. That's what happens when you quarantine in Canada for 2 weeks.
Listen to me.
Does everybody have a different tune like that? You know who it is that's calling? So who?
No, that's my standard. I don't know how I got that ring. I don't know.
He doesn't know how to change it.
You got the Pink Panther. Don't say you don't know how you got it. You got that. You picked it up.
No, I got it. No, I got. There was the first one down. Yeah, I know. Anyway,
that's fine.
My Barney look and the Pink Panther. So I can close. Next week I might show up coordinated in pink. There you go.
God. Pink and purple.
Hey, going back to Bettman.
Yeah.
Everybody that plays this game today they should first kiss Gretzky's ass and then his.
Right.
I mean, you can say the game has changed. It's not like it used to be. It's a lot different. You're going from making 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 to 8, 9, 10 million.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking at, I like hockey back in the 80s and 70s. Okay, it was different.
Right.
They kept the money, which, they're the owners. They guess they have the right.
Well, and they generate a lot more money too. That's a big thing he should get credit for. I mean, when he first started, I think the revenues in the league were like $700 million, and now they would have been closing in on $5 million, or $5 billion. Excuse me. So.
Wow, is that right?
Yeah.
No.
But the salaries are more than 7 times more, though.
Yeah, and I know everybody didn't like the lockouts and everything, and the players don't like escrow, and I don't blame them. But man, I mean, a 50-50 split, and these guys are still, who's making $14 million? Connor McDavid's making. So,
I mean, there's. He did a great job on this bubble thing.
Yeah.
Like I really suspected somewhere down the line, not that one of the guys, hockey players are different. They kind of like know we like our place and we know what it is and we do what we have to do. And I never expected, but I expected maybe somebody brought it in from the outside, somebody that tested negative, that was positive. How many things could happen? I mean, it's a lot of things, and nothing went wrong.
Right.
I mean, it just shows what a great job the NHL did. And I'm really sad. I think they should start another whole thing of playoffs right now. Give me something to watch.
Yeah.
There's nothing. I'm tired.
I can't watch the Jets or Giants. Jeez, they're awful. God.
Are they playing?
Yeah.
I haven't seen
the Yankees moved on, right? So
yeah.
It's not the same with people in the building. It's just. I mean, now every production, the NFL and Major League Baseball, they're adding the sound, right? And they're managing the sound to give them the play.
Right.
So but that's, again, the hockey was great when it was on every night. Every night.
Have you ever went to a football game down south, to a high school football game on a Friday night?
You have been, Gresh, or you haven't?
Have you ever been to one?
No. My nephews grew up in Dallas.
Oh yeah.
Highland Park is where they went to high school. That's where Stafford, the quarterback in Detroit, played. And 30,000 people.
I went to a couple, probably, 15, 20 years ago. And a friend lives outside of Dallas. I could have swore that, is this like a CFL game?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
The kids were huge. The game was unbelievable. The beer was cold as hell. And they had like those whatever you call those things outdoor cooking and everything. It was amazing. It was amazing. And how many people? Like I went to this one outside of Austin. There was about 25,000 people there.
Yeah.
20,000 people.
Listen, that's
and there's no they don't mean there's the sound is that, but I know, and now I watch some of the high school football now that's going on, and there's like 30 people in the stands.
Right.
Yeah. It's got to be tough on the kids.
Right.
Like you just said, it's tough to watch with no fans in the game because it takes away the noise, but it's tough on the players too.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially a home game, you get that little extra jump.
Well, here's something to ponder, guys. But come January, if the league wants to get going again, but if they're not allowed to have fans in the seats, do you think the league will start up again? Because you figure if they're going to play all the games, the players are going to want all their salaries, right? But then you don't get the revenue from the tickets. And I think the NHL is like 60% of the revenue they get is generated from fans coming to the buildings.
I don't think they can unless they get compromised on the salaries.
Yeah.
Well, I think there might be a chance they'd start up if there was a guarantee that they could eventually get people in the building.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Over some time. I think the problem is, if you start in January of 82 games and the season runs till when? July.
Yeah.
You start the next season.
Right.
So
will they go with less than 82 games? Will they go with 68 games or something like that?
I think that's probably the most viable, especially if they wait, the longer they wait with the better chance of getting people in the building, then the schedule becomes, shortened. And you just have to live with the prorated thing.
Yeah.
You got to keep the thing alive, I would think.
Yeah, I agree.
So the longer it goes, I think the schedule gets shorter because, your seasons eventually get all backed up. When you get back on track,
right.
As far as I guess, but it sounds like they're, at least the plan is to hopefully January 1 and get 82 games in, and then hopefully more games than not, we'll have people in the building.
Yeah.
I hope it happens.
Yeah, me too.
Well, they have another bubble situation too. They have like people talking about 4 bubbles, whatever, for the whole season.
Yeah, and again, where do you put the bubbles? You put those in the hockey market. Where now, how many people are in a bubble, and that bubble's in New York, and Carolina's playing Florida?
Yeah,
how many people are going to go to that one?
Yeah,
but those are all things that I'm sure they're thinking about or trying to figure out, and and hopefully that there's answers on a number of fronts, starting with this pandemic. They can get that thing under control and go from
Or
there.
what they could do is just put all the names in the hat, right? All 31 teams now, and then draw 16 out and start the playoffs again. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Listen to me, the way it goes now, Tampa was a great team, but a lot of teams could win that Stanley Cup now. It's amazing.
Sure.
well, especially too, it sounds like Tampa's may have to, because they're right up against. They have no cap space, and they've got Cirelli to get signed, Sergachev him signed. They're both.
They're not going to afford to keep the Maroons and the Shattenkirks and the Bogosians, those guys who played, like we talked, played good roles for the team too. So
Yeah, I mean, I think Shatty was $1 million something. Maroon was not much more. Bogosian and Shen, I think, are free agents. So those guys retiring aren't freeing up an awful lot of money, especially when you're looking at Sergachev and Cirelli and guys that you're going to have to pay them.
Right.
So
Sergachev could
a
be
guy like Killorn or somebody like that. Maybe I don't know what Cernak is making, but some guy is making some money. Will probably have to get moved there. You would think.
it's like the old Chicago days, right? When they were winning the cups, they had to get rid of guys too. Huh?
Right.
That's
Right.
I think Sergachev would look good in red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I think in the next our next couple of conversations, there might be a little more to develop from a Ranger standpoint and all that stuff. So it's our little hot stove league conversation will continue. How about that?
Yep, definitely. And we're working on getting ourselves color coordinated too.
Yeah.
Well, what color are we all going to wear next week?
Well, I don't think we should all have the same color, right? I mean, it's just we need to have more. Like I've got there's nothing match. I got a white shirt and I'm not wearing a hat. I guess I gotta get a hat.
You're not wearing a hat.
You wear anything white or black, Tommy?
Pardon me?
Looks
Do
like
you
you're
wear
wearing a
anything
shower.
white or black or
Black and blue, dark blue or black. It's pretty much
like Johnny Cash look?
That's-
That's all I wear is black when I go out. Black pants.
Yeah.
You can wear a shirt.
Tommy, I thought you were wearing a shower cap there.
What?
I thought you were wearing a shower cap.
That's natural. That's grass does not grow on a busy street. I told you that. Okay.
I thought we'd have some tales from Kentucky for this week too, Gresh, but that didn't
Yeah,
happen.
I know. No, listen to me. I promised I wouldn't say anything.
Yeah.
This
So
is my
we'll
word.
let that rest. The pandemic stopped our man Tommy from heading to the bluegrass state of Kentucky. So
And nobody. I saw pictures and nobody had a mask on or anything. So
right.
No, but it's funny because Tommy was talking about that, and I'm going like, there's a lot of restrictions out there. You just can't go travel and go crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he ends up finding out and couldn't go. So I was really hoping he would go because to get him out of here for a while because I can't really.
see, Gresh is he's going to start trouble. He's going to try to say that I did not want to go.
No, you did what you wanted to go.
Yeah.
But you couldn't go because of the pandemic.
But you thought I was using the pandemic as a way to get out.
No, I'd never think that, Tom.
Yeah.
You're a man of your word.
And when's the draft, Dave? Next weekend?
I think it's Tuesday, right?
Tuesday. Yes.
It's the 6th.
6th.
Are they having all the rounds in one day?
No,
6th. No.
6th and 7th.
Oh.
I just saw that this morning on TV.
Yeah. It's because the 3rd is Saturday, 4th, Sunday, 5th. Yeah, it's Tuesday.
Okay, so it'll be Tuesday, Wednesday. So Thursday we can talk
Yeah,
about
there should be lots to.
lots of trade.
Yeah.
Listen to me. Last question. The Rangers' first round pick.
Yeah.
Which way are they going?
Lafreniere.
Quebec or out?
Yeah. I don't think there's any.
Yeah.
I think the big thing is will they have the pick?
So you think they move it, Dave?
No, I mean that's an option, right?
Yeah.
It's an option that you have. That if there's a deal out there to be made, it's probably, if not the best option, but it certainly would have to be something that fit and stuff like that. But it's.
What do you think if they go after that centerman that they want? That's they're going to have to get a lot for this.
Yeah, you'd have to get. Yeah, and again. As you say, well, the Rangers do this. Well, it takes two to tango.
Right.
You can say what you want. I got this and that, and then it makes sense. I'm not saying they will or won't. I'm just saying it's another tool that probably on prioritizing it, does it stand at the top of their list? Probably not.
Right.
Kopitar, Doughty. Kopitar and Doughty for the first round pick.
Those guys still in the league?
What?
Are they still in the league? They might be a little old.
Kopitar?
Kopitar, yeah.
He's 2005 draft, so he's 33.
Yeah.
32,
How old is Doughty?
He's up there as well.
Same age because he was Stamkos draft. He was 2 after Stamkos.
Okay.
And we can't fit him into the cap. I mean, there's
Yeah.
rookie bonuses. though.
Kopitar's making 10 million, and
Yeah.
Doughty's making
Eight.
8.
9. Yeah. And then you get all those bonuses the young players are going to make. So you couldn't fit them in.
Yeah. So that's all right. Well,
That's a move that that would have been made like 20 years ago. And
Well, that's what I thought they might do because it needs some oldness.
yeah.
They should feel like we felt, Dave.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Tommy. Okay, what are the 3 oldest guys in the league right now we can trade for and send them all the first round pick?
It's like when I got traded for Marcel Dion, I was like, your ego kicks in. You want to get traded for a great player, then you realize the guy's like 90 years old.
We only traded off of that team. We traded Tommy, Miller, and Ridley, basically.
Yeah.
For Marcel Dion. And Marcel Dion,
Bobby
nice
Carpenter.
guy, great player in his day.
Carpenter, yeah, it was in there, but he wasn't on the Rangers.
No, it went. Carpenter came to us for those 2 guys.
Yeah, for Ridley and
then Carpenter and Tommy went to LA for.
I like when we had Phil on that time and we started talking about the trades he made. He says, "Yeah, I was getting rid of all the bad guys," and there I was.
Oh, he was right though. But besides that,
Right.
Yeah. Tommy Laidlaw and Don Maloney were 2 real bad.
Oh yeah.
Bad guys.
And then he started talking about, at least with Don, he wanted to trade him close by, so he traded Hartford. Me, I'm as far as you can get away to the other side of the country.
Yeah. But you have to play with the great one.
Yeah, I know. It worked out well. I mean, that's not like, I know we've all said before, love playing for the Rangers, but I was so lucky to get there.
Well, they traded Dave to Buffalo, so he knew where the bridge was.
Yeah.
To go up to this wedding now.
How about we're getting out of hockey a little bit. This guy that's posted on Facebook it says he's buddies with you guys. He played in Providence and he's writing some book. What's the guy's name, Gresh?
Oh no, we don't want to even mention that.
Don't want to mention his name. He's got some book where he talks about how he scored 5 goals in like 3 minutes playing in the Western League. And it ended up like some number 5 whatever it is. And he's got all these
Boyd Anderson.
Boyd's writing a book?
Yeah, but Dave, I don't think the boy. It's a little nutty. Like he thinks he's got all the theories all figured out of all the things, like when the plane disappeared over in India and all this kind of stuff. It's all tied to him scoring these 5 goals in 3 minutes and all.
Ganja. Must be too much ganja weed.
Yeah.
We used to call him Herbie.
Yeah, Herbie. Yeah.
Oh, he calls her.
He was actually selling vacuum cleaners in Kitchener at one point after his career.
He talked about that. I'll send you the video. It's on video talking about all the theories he has.
He put me in. I don't know. Like I don't even know what plane came. I don't worry about what planes go down where. Who cares? I mean, I care about it, but like I don't think of because I think about. I used to fly a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so I never thought about that because I get on a plane. I don't want to think about planes that crashed.
Right.
You know.
I can't
want any
believe,
plane that crashed.
Boyd Anderson's writing a book. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for him. The key is will anybody read it? That's I guess anybody can write.
He'll read it, but will anybody buy it? That's the other.
Well, I'm a book reader. I'm a big book reader.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
It's got lots of pictures in it. You're right. You can have it.
If it's got pictures, I'm good.
Right.
There you go. There you go.
All right, guys. So next week,
we'll hopefully the draft and the free agency will be starting probably that following Saturday, I would think, right? Because it usually starts July 1, so I don't know what the free agency is after the draft, I suppose.
We'll do a better job of getting dressed, the color coordinated. You run your own any color you want.
Yeah. This is Barney for Barney and the Pink Panther. I'm signing off.
Barney. See you, Barney.
See you, Barney.